Welcome to the Ultimate Coach live book reading for chapter 34, TBOLITNFL. Oh my goodness, do we have an extraordinary reading for you tonight. But before we get started, I would love to acknowledge our beautiful ultimate author, Miss Amy Hardison, and Alan D. Thompson for the extraordinary work that they collaborated and co-created for the Ultimate Coach book. And I also want to acknowledge Mr. Steve Hardison for the extraordinary work that he does serving and loving anyone that comes across his path. And tonight I would also like to acknowledge Miss Gabby Puma, who has translated the Ultimate Coach book in 2 different languages, in Spanish and in her indigenous Chichewa, I think is the correct way, as a possibility to say it, but if I'm wrong, I apologize. So thank you, Gabby. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Amy. And thank you, Alan D. Thompson. And tonight, our extraordinary guest is Miss Julie Blake. She is the literal seed of creating the event for TBOLITNFL. So boy, do we have some good stuff for you tonight. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us live. Thank you for joining us here on Zoom. And just as a friendly reminder, when we read the book, please read about you. And when we listen, please listen about you. And when it comes time to share, we would love for you to take this special opportunity and share you with us today. If there is an insight present, please share you in your sharing. And so at this time, I would love to pass it over to my amazing, extraordinary co-host, Mr. Tom Lipinski. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much. And I had to change my background so I could be in alignment with Julie. So, wait, where are you? So, welcome, as Tanya said, everybody, for being here. And it's an exciting night for me because I'm looking at all the faces here, and there's only one that I've met in person, and that is Julie Blake. So the short story is Julie you were coaching the Coates family on how to sing, right? Yeah. So and then they put on a family review, or I forget what you guys called it, but it was the kids did a bunch of numbers, Mike and Jill did a bunch of numbers. And then when it was all over, Julie you turned on the karaoke machine, and I remember doing a number with you. I don't know which one it was, but we had a lot of fun. So when I saw that you were the reader tonight, it was like, yeah, I want to be moderator too. So we are, Tanya, you gave all the acknowledgments and thank you, so I appreciate that. We're gonna have to be creative tonight because we have 6 things to read. And I see 8 people. So first of all, who has the book in their possession? Oops, where do I go here? There. All right. Okay, I think we can do this. So who would like to read the back of the book? Vanessa, you own the back of the book. And next question is, who would like to read before you begin? Oh, is that MB? All right, MB, you got before you begin. Julie, we got you handled, chapter 34. And then we've got 3 vignettes tonight. Chris Doris, Luisa Milano, and Stephen St. Senato. Yeah, so who would like to read Chris Doris? I have the ability to what do they call that? Pick, right? But I see Tanya, you're wanting to read that, right? Okay, so Tanya, you get Chris. And remember, there's gonna be a whole bunch of people watching this on Facebook and the recording. Now we have Luisa Milano's vignette. Who can handle that one? Lisa, thank you. Last but not least, Stephen Sinato. Should I give that one to Liz? I think I'll give it to Liz, and if she doesn't do it, then I'll do it. Okay. Very good. So, a couple of things. The way we'll go is when I give you can begin. We'll just start right with Vanessa, and then when Vanessa finishes MB, you just kick right in, and when you're done, Julie will read the chapter, and then we'll go into the three vignettes right in order. So there's going to be like a seamless flow. When the reading, when people are reading and you're listening and taking it all in and listening about you, if something comes up, and not if, I know something's going to come up, use the chat and maybe type something in there that others can see as well, that, you know, will know what inspired you. And then we did say already to share about you when it's time to share. And I don't know if, I don't recall if you mentioned acknowledgements, but this is not a time for acknowledging people. This is a time for sharing about you and reading about you. So if there's something that you would like to acknowledge someone on, you know, do it privately, off camera, set up a Zoom, do a messenger, you know, and it will mean more in that kind of a setting. So I think with that, am I missing anything? I think we're ready to go. So Vanessa, you want to get us kicked off here?
Okay, I start.
You can start.
Okay. Dear potential reader, as you may have noticed, there are no testimonials on the back cover of this book encouraging you to read it. I'll be told that. The only testimonial I am interested in is the one you will have from reading and experiencing this book. Please, do not read this book about me. Read this book about you. Read it about being. As you read, ask yourself, who would I need to be a more loving person? Who would I need to be a more effective parent? Who would I need to be to create a level of confidence that is remarkable? Who would I need to be at peace with who I am? Who would I need to be full in love with myself and my life? Who would I need to be to live the most extraordinary life I can live? I promise you that if you read this book with the intention of expanding your state of being, you will do exactly that. Your experience will be remarkable. Who you are being is everything. Loving you, be blessed, be you. It's defines.
Before you begin, Steve Henderson, I never wanted to write a book, and I have not. I never wanted to have a book written about me, but here it is. This book is a gift from my wife, Amy, who wrote it, and my friend, Alan D. Thompson, who conducted the research and interviews on which it is based. And it's not just a gift to me, but to you too. And now you are reading it. So, with your permission, I will give you some suggestion on how to read it. You see, this isn't an ordinary book. It's not simply a biography. It's not a self help book. It's not a literacy classic. It's definitely not a book about how to coach. In fact, it's not a book about doing anything. It's a book about being, and it's a book about you. To access this book, ask yourself these questions as you read. Who am I being as a partner, parent, or friend? Who am I being as a leader? Who am I being as a member of my community? Who would I need to be to have miracles show up in my daily life? Who would I need to be to create value in the work I do? Who would I need to be to generate a life of abundance? Who would I need to be to alter my relationship with fear? Who would I need to be at peace with my past? Who would I need to be? Who would I need to be present as a way of being? Who would I need to be to live the most extraordinary life I can live? Who would I need to be to know that my life makes a difference? Who would I need to be fully in love with myself and my life? Who would I need to be to improve my relationship with the most important people in my life? Who would I need to be? Read the ultimate coach and have a personal breakthrough in being wonderful me. The best the best part about this book about you, is that it is endless. The story goes on and it's written by your being. Loving you, be blessed, be you, Steve Hardison.
All right, we are at chapter 34 here. TBOLITNFL is a mouthful until you realize it's simply the acronym for the best defensive lineman in the NFL. But it is more than an acronym. It's a story, an event, a video, a website, and experience. It appears to be about a football player. It's not. Lorraine Warren got that 10 years after watching the video. She emailed Steve, "I remember you asking me to watch the video. What you don't know is that I cried for several days after watching that film. The possibility that I saw for my life really scared me, and it brought me to my knees." TBOLITNFL provokes knee-buckling possibility. It's a wake-up call, but not like xylophone tones, birds chirping, or even annoying techno beeps. It's like an errand fire alarm in the middle of the night that jolts you out of sleep and shoots adrenaline through your system. It says, "Wake up. It's time to live big." It was Sunday morning, September 5th, 2010. Printed newspapers were still a thing. Steve was perusing the Arizona Republic and saw that Matt Leinart, a former starting quarterback for USC, a Heisman Trophy winner and a first-round draft pick, had been released from the Arizona Cardinals. This man had talent, yet ESPN was saying nobody wanted to pick him. The Arizona paper was saying he was a washout. Steve knew he could help Matt with the critical missing piece, his thinking, if he could just speak to him in person. So, Steve contacted his friend, a former Cardinal, Val Shikiahima. Forgive me if that's not pronounced right. Who gave Steve the phone number of Deuce Latouille, a teammate of Leinart's. When Steve and Deuce connected on Monday morning, Steve explained that he could help Matt. "Deuce, it's what I do for a living. I work with people's thoughts. But I can't do it on the phone." "So," said Deuce, "you only do this face-to-face?" "Yes." "Well, you won't be able to help Matt then. He's gone to Texas. He's with the Houston Texans." That information had not yet been released. Steve thanked Deuce and was ready to hang up when Deuce blurted out, "Well, would you do that with me, what you were going to do with Matt?" Steve heard the hunger. He liked that. "Deuce, I can't do with you what I was going to do with Matt. You're not Matt. But I can do with you what I would do with you." Deuce had one day off a week. Tuesdays. Steve invited Deuce to look at his schedule and find a Tuesday in the future where he could meet with Steve for 2 to 3 hours. Steve would make it work with his schedule. Tomorrow is Tuesday, said Deuce. I have clients tomorrow. Can I come tonight? Asked Deuce. Steve could work with that kind of desire. Steve had a family dinner that night, but he agreed to meet with Deuce between his clients the next day. And Deuce, said Steve, come on time. American time, not Tongan time. And if you're late, we don't meet. Deuce showed up early. When Steve opened the door, a massive Tongan loomed in the doorway. Deuce was 6'4" and 386 pounds. He filled up his 5X jersey. He had tattoo sleeves on his arms and legs. He looked formidable, except for his smile. Steve invited him in his family room. Deuce, tell me about yourself, prompted Steve. Deuce spoke about living in Tonga, coming to America, and the car accident that killed his sister and put his father and brother in a coma. He talked about his wife, his children, and God. After about 45 minutes, Steve invited Deuce into his office. Deuce took one step into his office and backed out. He sensed the sacred. What do you do in here? We create miracles, said Steve. Deuce took his shoes off and stepped in with reverence. Deuce, do you have anything else you want to say before we begin? Deuce spoke for 45 more minutes. When he had nothing left to say, Steve said, Deuce, I just have one question for you. Steve leaned forward in his chair. Who is the best defensive lineman in the NFL? Deuce looked up and thought he was checking his NFL Rolodex. Thanks for answering my question, Deuce, but I didn't answer. Oh, you did, loud and clear. I'm confused. What are you talking about? Okay, let's change places. Just pretend I'm Deuce Latui. Ask me, who is the best defensive lineman in the NFL? Okay. Who is the best defensive lineman in the NFL? And Steve vaulted from his chair. He grabbed Deuce by the shirt with both hands and roared, If you had any idea who I was, you wouldn't ask such a stupid question. Steve kicked his chair with exploding energy. Then Steve brought the volume down, but the intensity up. It was far more unnerving. Listen, I am Deuce Latui, and I am the best offensive lineman in the NFL. That's who I am. Whew. Steve stood up, smiled, and said in a conversational tone, Well, Deuce, we're out of time. I have a client coming shortly. Deuce looked dazed. He stepped out of his office and slid into his sandals. Deuce, said Steve, if you got that inside of you, your whole world would change. Steve walked Deuce out to his truck. With each step, possibility dawned. By the time Deuce reached his truck, he said, Steve, I want you to fly to St. Louis on Sunday. I want you to watch me play football. I want you to go to all of my away games. I want you to come to all the home games. We can put you up with the team. Deuce, you can count on me not doing that. But I will make one deal. Drive somewhere, sit quietly, and think about what happened in the last 3 hours. Then go to my website and read carefully. Sauté in it. Read everything my clients say about working with me, but read it as if it were you, about you. If you do that, I will come to your first home game. If you don't want to do that, it was nice meeting you. Clayton Mask, Steve's next client, arrived. As Deuce was climbing into his truck, Who was that? Clayton asked as Deuce drove away. Steve gave him the short version. Clayton said, Let me know if you hear back from him. That night at 9:50 p.m., Deuce sent Steve this email. A few things I wrote down after our session and going on to your website. This has locked my future and secured my goals. The best in the game. The best OL in the NFL. The best Pro Bowler there is. best at my craft, best on the team, captain, paid, I am, with a whole bunch of exclamation points. The scary thing is, this isn't enough for me, nor good enough. Love you, brother. I want to witness this at every game, at every play. Please let me have you at every game you are able to make it. It will bless my life to know you're behind me, literally watching my every move. Again, the best in the game, the best OL in the NFL, the best pro bowler there is, best at my craft, best on the team, captain, paid, I am. Ofa Autu, TBOLITNFL, Deuce Latui. At 9:50 p.m. September 7th, 2010, TBOLITNFL was born. The first thing Steve did was respond to Deuce. Deuce, powerful, like you. So let it be written, so let it be done. The second thing Steve did was give Clayt an update. Clayt wrote back, I am a God-serving man, a great father, and the CEO of a billion-dollar software company called Infusionsoft. TBOLITNFL was only minutes old, and it was already creating possibility. Launching the vision. True to form, Steve shared the Deuce Latui story with his friends, family, clients, and the people he saw at the car wash, the mall, the grocery store, pretty much everywhere. Steve's son Blake told the owner of his company, who called Steve and asked him to come share the experience with his company. Steve said, that's not what I do, but the owner persisted. He touched Steve at a tender spot. Your son works here. Come help our company. Steve agreed. I'll give you 1 hour. They met at the Kingfish restaurant in Tempe. They expected 12 people. There were 60. They were packed into a room that accommodated 48. Steve shared the story with signature passion. People were inspired. But not because one football player was electrified by his possibility. Deuce was every man. People walked out of Kingfish House inspired by who they could be and what they could do. The Kingfish House audience didn't just think about what Steve said. They gave the story electronic wings. They gave it a heft to its movement. One person created a website where the written story was posted. One man rented a billboard set that for 8 seconds out of every minute, 24 hours a day for 30 days, TBOLITNFL flashed at the cars driving on the freeway. Steve shared the story over and over, so often that the tellings strained his voice. After Steve rasped the story to Dr. Gibson in California, the doctor enrolled his friend Julie Blake, a vocal coach, to help. Soon she was on the phone telling Steve what he needed to do to restore his voice. When he could speak, Steve shared the Deuce Latui story with her. Would you come to Utah and do what you did at that restaurant? That's not what I do, and I don't love traveling. It actually didn't go down that way. I was driving down the road. I started working with him on voice, and I made him a tape because I'm like, you gotta give your vocal cords some love, and you're gonna leave. And by the time he got to me, he had told the story full 1000% Steve Hardison passion through vocal cords that are the size of your thumbnails. Like, can you even imagine? Your muscles are like this size, and you know the force of nature Steve is. And so I was working with him, going back and forth on voice, and I was driving down the road and I heard this Soup Dragons cover of "'Cause I'm free to be who I want any old time," right? And I'm like, Steve, we need to, I call him up. I'm like, we got to do a music video. And then somehow that conversation morphed into he was coming to Utah to do the event. He was coming to Utah anyway because Amy was speaking at BYU. So anyway, a little alteration to the story there. And who knows, maybe I'm remembering it wrong. There's always a musical going on in my head. So, however, it just so happened that Amy was presenting a paper at the Sperry Symposium at BYU, Brigham Young University, on October 29, 2010. They were already going to be in Utah. If Julie wanted to make something happen on October 30th, Steve would do it. Julie took on producing the event. She even got Steve to agree to do something he never does. He let her tape the event. By the way, that was 7 days before the event. So any of you event planners know, that changed everything. That was really fun, but we made it happen. Okay, so 4 days after TBOLITNFL was born, Steve was standing in a room at the University of Utah speaking to an audience of, 44 days, sorry. Hello, 44 days. He was speaking to an audience of 600 people. He spoke from his heart as he related the series of events that brought Deuce to his home. You know, what's not going to be in the book, I just realized, is I had called Mark Eaton, the jazz player, 7'4", and I said, "Hey Mark, do you have any music connections for this event?" And he said, "Yeah, call my friend Tommy Hopkins. She's an insane guitar person." And so I met Tommy and his girlfriend Tammy, and from this event, and that's actually how I ended up in Texas and all these adventures. So that just kind of hit me. So sorry about that. Okay, so during the event, he reenacted the pivotal moment in his office with Chris Doris acting as proxy for Deuce. Even though Chris had been at the Kingfish house, even though Chris knew it was a recreation, when Steve grabbed his shirt and got in his face, Chris was rattled. I was so proud that he chose me for that moment. That was pretty great. But at the same time, I was scared shitless. I was afraid this could actually get out of hand. It didn't, but Chris's shirt, his favorite Greg Norman shirt, was a casualty of Steve's exuberance. Steve finished telling the story of Deuce. Then he drove home this message. Listen, commitment rocks the world. You want to shift something in your marriage? You want to shift something at work? You want to shift something at school? Get committed. When you're committed, the world lines up to support your commitment. It's like a black hole. Commitment has a gravitational power. Everything you need moves to the commitment. Steve read a statement by W.H. Murray from the Scottish Himalayan expedition. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back. Always ineffectiveness. The moment one definitely commits oneself, the providence moves too. A whole stream of events issue from the decision, rising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. Steve finished. I give you the same challenge I gave Deuce. Go find a quiet place. Ask yourself, what is it that I want? What is it that I could commit to? And look inside. Be quiet long enough to see something. The response. The emails came from every state in the United States. They came from Paris, Luxembourg, and Germany. They came from Russia, Australia, and the Czech Republic. They all had the flavor of this one. I don't know who Steve Hardison is. I don't know who this Deuce Latouille is. But what I do know is that I'm going to be the best confectioner in all of Scotland. That was Isla Morrison. This email came with 2 pictures, TBOLITNFL spelled out with cupcakes, and TBOLITNFL spelled out with seashells on a beach. A CEO in London wrote, "Hi Steve, you sir are magic in motion." That document belongs deep in the fleshy tablets of every heart. I have gone through it 3 times, made notes, and carry a small black notebook that has my own version of TBOLITNFL in it. It would be surprising if everyone reading this document doesn't create their own personal internal commitment. Steve later called personal internal commitment declarations are cumulatively the document. Fred Beljars from the Netherlands wrote, "My coach sent me a video of Steve doing TBOLITNFL. I watched the long version 3 times in a row. Awesome. I was in love." Dave Gerber wrote, "I've watched it 5 times and it impacts me in new ways each time I watch it." Eric Lofholm wrote, "Hi Steve, Gary Henson sent me the info. I was so inspired by it, I shared it at CEO Space today where I spoke to 300 people. I will share the story with several thousand people in the next year during my speeches and webinars. Warmly, Eric Lofholm." The world's greatest sales trainer. Jen Walter wrote, "I never heard of Steve Hardison, to be honest. I thought coaches were for weight loss and athletes." Parker Winder shared with me Deuce Latui and TBOLITNFL. "I'm a Packers fan, so my first thought was, who is this other football team and why would I care? But I trusted Parker. Holy buckets, Batman! I believe I may have watched the video twice. Who is this man? Who talks like this? Who does this for another person?" I was hooked. Steve had no idea of my journey, but he helped put a spark in my mind that started a fire in my heart that fueled my passion for transformation. I am the creator and master of my life. 4 years after viewing the video, Emma Holmes in England wrote to Steve, "Hi Steve, I hope you and dear Amy are well. I am not sure if I have shared this with you. Around 2016, I created my commitment as, let's just do this, the best online scratch DJ tutor in the world. Shortly after, a leading DJ software company contacted me to create some video tutorials for them and referred to me as exactly that. Oh, I love sharing the TBOLITNFL videos with my clients, and all who take the time to absorb it are transformed. Grateful for you." Shortly after, Rosie Bernardo moved from Los Angeles to Miami. She watched the video on one of her breaks at school where she worked. She says, "I can't even explain what went through me, but basically I said, holy shit, somebody is as loving as I am. I had felt embarrassed about the acts of kindness I did. I felt like maybe they were over the top. This video gave me permission to keep doing them." It also inspired her to stick with this coaching thing, which she was doing on the side. Rosie relates, "I started giving the Steve Hardison video to people. One of the people I gave it to was my cousin before he was the mayor of Miami. After watching the video, he literally drove to my apartment and gave me a $100 bill. He said, 'Thanks, coach.' He had written his personal internal commitment on a napkin. This was before he was mayor, but he was already on that trajectory. I started a coaching group called The Power of 10. It was an after-school coaching program at the adult school. I had enrolled 10 young adults in it. There was a young guy from Miami in this group. I believe his name was Adid, and that he was originally from somewhere in Africa. Sometimes I substituted for the teachers at the school, teaching their English classes. Adid had been in one of those classes. I had substituted, and he wouldn't do anything. When he came to the Power of the 10 program, I said, 'Adid, you can just watch this video.' He agreed and started watching it. Shortly after, he said, 'Miss Bernardo, this is boring. Just take it home and watch it.' At home, I pled, so he went home and watched it. 2 days later, he was frantically searching for me at school. When he found me, he said, 'Oh my goodness, I watched the video and I started crying. I don't even know why. But I was sobbing, and so I watched it again. I think I watched it 5 times. And then I started writing my commitments. I don't know what was going on, but all these words started coming out of me. Wow, you know what? She said, I'm going to tell Steve about you. So I sent an email to Steve and asked if he would sponsor. I did. It cost $100 for each kid to take this training with me. Steve agreed and even wrote an email back to Adid. I continue to send that video to every person I know when I think they'll be open to watching it. I send it to every client before I work with them. It doesn't matter who it is. Every single person experiences a transformation watching that video. Postscript. Deuce Latouille caught the vision of what he could be. He was on fire. He had a killer season, but ultimately his football career floundered because of his weight. Deuce decided to move from the Cardinals to the Bengals. Will Keeper writes, his lucrative new contract was conditioned upon him passing the Bengals physical exam. Among other things, the exam included stepping on a scale to check his weight. In another single powerful moment, Deuce's world changed again. The scale declared he was carrying 381 pounds. He should have been 30 or 40 pounds lighter. The Bengals said, no thank you, Deuce. And less than 24 hours after he left for the promised land of his new contract with his team, Deuce was back on a plane to Phoenix. Some estimated that he left more than $6 million over 2 years on the Bengals table. If this was the case, it represented about $200,000 per excess pound he carried onto that scale into the Bengals locker room. The next day, he signed a modest 1-year contract with the Cardinals. Deuce's final year as a Cardinal was bleak. Things went downhill from here. Does this disappointing conclusion invalidate TBOLITNFL? Only if TBOLITNFL was about a football player. It's not. Every time Steve shared Deuce's story, it was always about waking someone up to their own possibility and inspiring him or her to commit to making it happen. Deuce woke up. He was inspired, but he failed to do what he needed to do to make it happen. As such, the doleful finish of his football career is not a footnote to TBOLITNFL. It is not something to be swept under the rug. It is truth told in relief. A personal internal commitment is not a magic wand. It's a powerful commitment that brings dreams into reality by consistent daily actions. Miracles happened. Dreams were actualized. Chris Doris, who stood for Deuce at the University of Utah, concludes, I cannot believe, I will definitely not believe, that the value of these powerful stories in any way lost by virtue of someone either choosing a different path or forgetting their power. Conclusion. TBOLITNFL continues to be read and watched. It has been more than 10 years since Steve spoke at the Kingfish House and the University of Utah. Steve still gets emails like this. Thank you for sending TBOLITNFL to me. I am inspired by Deuce's commitment. It does the same thing for me that it appears to have done for others who have read it. It makes me want to be the best. It makes me want to play bigger in every area of my life. To man up and take the challenge of me. I will watch in great expectation and cheer on number 76 this year. With a love I have for the greatness in human beings when they're being all they can be. Thank you for all you've done in my life to bring out the greatness in me. Man up, woman up, play bigger. Love is the greatest in humanity. Tap into your own greatness. This is what TBOLIT NFL is all about.
Vignette, Chris Doris. In October 2010, Steve called me and said, Chris, you know Julie Blake, right? Of course, I said. I just spoke with her yesterday. She invited me to go to Utah for her event. I told her I was at the Fish House in Tempe when you did the original TBOLITNFL. What I thought but didn't say was, no way am I going to Salt Lake City. I am not going to miss an Eagles game. Steve interrupted me. She's having a hard time pulling this event together. This is what I want you to do. First thing tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., call her. Do not tell her that I told you to do this. That is imperative. Call her and ask her what she needs. And whatever she asks for, say yes. If she asks for 15 Harley Davidsons, you figure it out. If you do this, I promise you will experience miracles in your life, both personally and professionally. Are you willing to do this? Boatness? Steve calls me Boatness. I call him Admiral. Yeah, because I love you. Pray to God she asks for something huge. Click. I jumped in because I love, love, love this stuff. I really do feed off of it. Now, we got game. Still, I was scared shitless and energized. I was scared and pumped. So the next day, I called Julie. Hey, Julie, it's CD. Is there anything you need to pull this together? Because I know it's a big deal and you are really working your ass off. Julie said, Chris, you're a godsend. What can I do to help you? Can you please be here? It would be great, so great to have you here, Julie said. I host a big party at my house every Sunday during football season. My house is the place to be. I hate missing games, but I made a commitment to say yes to everything. I told her I would be there. Oh, that's great, Julie said. And can you pay for the menu? What? I thought, I just hired Steve Hardison. How much disposable cash do you think I have sitting around? I'm freaking broke. I'm pumped about it, but I'm broke. But I committed to say yes to everything. I told Julie I would pay for the venue. She said, you probably want to know how much it is. I guess I should have, but it didn't even matter. If it were $5, I didn't have it. And it was thousands. I said, game on. She said, thank you, CD. Can you wire that to me tonight? I'm the yes man. She gave me the wire information. I'm thinking, I have to get the money. I plopped down on the top of my stairs and sat there and thought, it took me 45 minutes to come up with a solution. I was excited about my idea, but in retrospect, I realized I should have sat with it for another 15 minutes. I would have come up with a much better solution. But who cares? I came up with one. And all that matters is that there was one. One I would never have ever even considered if I had not taken that leap. I had just made an agreement with a new corporate client to pay me in advance for some work I was going to do for them. I called and told them about TBOLITNFL and what I was doing and asked if I could come pick up a check that day. They said, oh, we'd love to be a part of that. The takeaway for me is that if I ever need to create anything, I can do it like that. That's what TBOLITNFL is all about in the first place. I was on my way back from picking up the money from my client. I was all amped up. I felt like a freaking powerhouse. I couldn't wait to get home and wire the money to Julie. I was also thinking about getting my plane ticket since I was now going to Utah for the event. At this time, I was also in the middle of creating my first ever audio program, a 5-hour course called Creating Your Dream. I called the production company and said, can I get 500 copies of disc 1? Can I get them tomorrow? Because I'm leaving tomorrow. I gave the discs out at the event and that led to clients. Miracles were already starting to occur and they are still occurring. So I was driving and thinking about all this stuff and my girlfriend called. I started telling her how excited I was. She said, hold on. You just hired this guy and you're paying for his venue? She's going off. I'm like, sister, you're going to get in your sister. You are so getting in your way here. You are not bringing this vibe down. And that vibe has never come down. I went to the event in Salt Lake. Steve brought me up on stage. Are still talking about that. People hired me from that. I'm still using it. I created an all-in audio program, which has now become an online course and is now a fundamental element of my corporate training. I teach that goals are for those who don't have the guts to make a decision. A goal is, oh, I hope I can pull this off. A decision is, this has to get done like now. Steve was right when he said, I promise you, you will experience miracles in your life, both personally and professionally. This story has changed my life.
Vignette, Luisa Milano from a Facebook post on January 19th, 2021. Today I received an invitation to celebrate myself. It came in a vase with beautiful flowers from my coach, Varian Brandon. The card said, because today marks 6 months of your choosing you, congratulations, Luisa, on your courage to become so much love. My eyes immediately welled up with tears, and then I realized I didn't know what the 6-month milestone even was. I pulled up my calendar, went to the month view, and quickly swiped back to see what happened 6 months ago today. I saw it and my eyes immediately welled up with tears again. 6 months ago was July 19th, the last day I had alcohol. I never had an issue with alcohol or drinking. Actually, I was always that girl who, after a few cocktails, ended up exchanging numbers with random souls in the bathroom, swearing we'd go grab lunch or cure cancer together the following week. But I also used alcohol to numb, and I knew it. After a long or hard day, it always did the job, but it worked, so I kept doing it. My life, my rules. But on July 3rd, something happened. I took my commitment to myself and my purpose here on earth to a new level after watching Steve Hardison's TBOLITNFL video. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out on the chance to see a miracle unfold in the span of 2 hours. I cemented it with a tattoo because, well, I have a flair for the dramatic. What can I say? Steve says that when one is committed, everything moves in the commitment like a black hole. That day, I committed to seeing with new eyes how each action, thought, belief, and habit would either move me closer to my purpose or away from it. 2 weeks later, on July 19th, I woke up, clearly saw that alcohol wasn't doing me any favors. It wasn't bad, it simply wasn't useful in helping me to accomplish what I am here to do. I celebrate this with you, Varian, because you've been my champion since October 25th, 2019. Coaches are people, just like everyone else. But coaches are also guides who have chosen a personal legacy in service of the soul of the planet. And some coaches are angels, as Varian has been for me.
Vignette, Stephen Cianto. I'm currently in Jersey City, New Jersey. In 2011, I hit rock bottom. I was in enough pain that I was ready to request and receive support. My brother Nick said, Steve, man, you just got the smack of God. You have got to make this the best thing that has ever happened to you. I said, okay, man, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get sober. I thankfully recovered and got sober. I was in and out of court. Here I was, a defendant, and I go and sign up for law school admission test. I had tons of fear and limiting beliefs. I can't read fast enough. Everyone else is smarter than me. I don't have enough time. I have to work. I have to attend 12-step meetings, and on and on. I had to rise above all of these diminishing and disempowering thoughts. I had made friends with the judge while bartending. He invited me to his chambers to connect and discuss the law. He was talking about how he is able to be of service to the community and all of these wonderful things. And I said, Judge, I don't know if you're a believer, but I swear God's talking right through you. He confirmed, I am a believer. He pulled out a Bible and said, I read this every morning before I sit on the bench. I want you to come to my church. So I went to his church and I heard him share his story. It rocked me. I was deeply moved and inspired and felt something shift inside of me. I thought, I'm going all in. I'm doing this. For the first time in my life, I'm giving something everything I've got. I started listening to inspiring videos every morning that transformed my entire psyche. I began to believe in myself. I began to show up like the freaking Terminator. I maintained that level of commitment for 3 years and I graduated first in my class. I was a true miracle. I went through the journey to become a lawyer. I practiced one of the best firms in the world, based in New York City. Shortly into practicing, I felt deeply unfulfilled and chose to make a bold move. I left the law and transitioned into coaching. I was struggling emotionally. I was excited and inspired, yet often paralyzed by fear and anxiety. Then my friend, Mike, sent me an audio of TBOLITNFL. I had never really heard of Steve Hardison. I heard his name, but never heard his voice or anything. I was curious. I was listening to this audio and it was like my soul recognized it. It hit me so hard. I was walking down Lexington Avenue in Manhattan, listening and in tears. I was so moved by his being, by his authenticity, by his power, by his love, by his service-oriented spirit. The shift that had occurred for me with Judge Wright became the best. Sorry, it happened again. I made an internal commitment to go all in and become the best coach I could be. That was a profoundly pivotal moment in my life. I went on Facebook and sent Steve a friend request. He wrote me back in a really beautiful message and sent me one of Steve Chandler's books. We exchanged messages a few more times. He sent me another book by Nadine Larder called Conquering Fears to Create Masterpieces. As I was flipping through the book, I saw the declarations infused on the masterpiece wall. Again, I was rocked spiritually and emotionally. It was like Spirit wrote right through me as I began to declare who I be. I declared, I have a full coaching practice with a waiting list of clients. This is at a time when I had maybe 1 or 2 clients. Within a few months, I had a full clientele and a waiting list for both my one-on-one practice and my next workshop before I even talked to Steve. He transformed my life. He helped me to fulfill what I believe I am put on earth to do, to coach and serve. I have cultivated having conversations with the God of my understanding. My declarations come to me through my conversations with God. He affirms, you are the possibility of unconditional love, profound service, and divine power. You are loved, loving, and lovable. You are perfect peace. You are a sunbeam, a spark of divinity, a lighthouse. You are one of the most loving, committed, and powerful coaches on the planet. This is how I begin each day.
Beautiful. Every one of those readings were beautiful. And I want to acknowledge everyone. I'm going to start with who Vanessa went first, and then MB, and then Julie, Tanya, Lisa, and then Liz. And we have how many people in here right now? It looks like 11, but I know 2 are, so we've got 9 people here. We had 6 read. Teresa, welcome to the room. So I'm just touched by this. And Julie, it was so cool to have you read that, and especially when you adding those pieces to it. And that brought it more to more life, brought it alive. And you probably have more of those stories to share, I'm thinking. And so yes, I loved every second of that. So this is the moment when we share, and we typically share in the order of the readers. You know, so I'll follow that same path, and no one has to share. But we certainly, you know, think it's the best part of the book reading for me is to be present to these shares. So I'm going to start with Vanessa. Is there anything that you'd like to bring up, Vanessa?
Oh, thank you,
You
Tom.
experienced.
I really like this reading. Julie, love the way you read. Really, really. So I write some things here like waking to our own possibilities and inspiring ourselves to the commitment we have with ourselves and make it happen. That is something that touched me. Like,
Can you say it again? Waking to our own possibilities? Is that?
yeah, in the book said waking someone up to their own possibilities and inspiring him or her to commit to making it happen. But I just think like wake, we have to wake each other, we have to wake to our own possibilities and inspire ourselves to commit it and make things happen. That's one thing that I read. And also everything moves to that commitment. When you when you commit with something, or you have your personal commitment, it's like true that everything starts happening around it, and it just happens. And today, and another thing that I was thinking is that today I was talking with a 8 years old girl. She's the okay. So her name is Christina, and we were talking about that she's an artist, and she doesn't like math, and she was thinking that an artist that is right, that an artist doesn't like math. And I started talking with her, and I was telling that I thought that the same thing when I was as the same age that she got right now. And when I was reading the Dulce's story, it was a part when we were talking with Christina, and she said me, so I want to become someday an artist. And then I saw her and I said, Christina, you are right now an artist. And everything you are learning, it will help you to understand a lot of things that you, like an artist, can create.
So you saw a possibility in her that she didn't see.
Yeah, and I think that I just don't only saw a possibility in her. I start like seeing some possibilities that right now when I'm a grown-up girl, all the possibilities that I have. So
Yeah.
when we start reading this, I just remember the conversation that I have with her. So that's what I want to share right now. I also write two more phrases here, like choose you. I love that.
Mhm.
Choose you. And my life, my rules. So what are my rules? What is my commitment? And this believing that everything moves to that commitment can be maybe my rules. I don't know. I'm just thinking. So
Yeah,
that's
well,
my share.
that's how it works. You just think like that, and as Julie was reading that, I wrote that in the chat. I'm looking at it right now, what you just said a few minutes ago. It's about waking someone up to their possibilities. You know, and you woke up Christina, and guess what? It's possible that tomorrow when you wake up, you see something for yourself. You know, that's the space, kind of the place you're in right now. And I think you can access it, you know, it's like before we let people into the room, we did our own little heart-centered focus. And it's like, so what I hear you saying is it's like you're going within and envisioning possibilities for people in your life and for yourself, and then they're happening. So
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep, and if anything else comes up, get that digital hand up. We want to hear. All right, MB. Would you like to share?
Yeah, while reading the Chris stories part, my gut was shivering. Like, how can he have a commitment of saying yes without knowing anything? How much dare and guts to have saying yes when you are said to do say yes without knowing anything, trusting the coach blindly
Yeah,
without showing up the fears. Wow, literally, I was shivering.
yeah. I mean, it's,
The
well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
the power of commitment beyond fears, to stand with the commitment beyond the fears. While listening, my body was shivering.
You experienced a moment.
Yes,
It meant something.
yes,
I love that. So you're saying you hear someone just say yes, and they don't even know what they're saying yes to. They're so committed to making it happen, making whatever happen. Have you experienced that yourself recently that you can recall anything?
yes. While reading, I have seen who will I need to be to improve my relationships with the most important people in my life. Then I recall the commitment I have for the people in my life, and the fear of saying yes without knowing, the gut fear I have.
So it's a fear, but yet you're going past it, right?
Yes,
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, and that's what this whole all these vignettes and chapters were about. You just added another vignette.
when I started reading this book, I felt like, how can I read this book about being me? This is about someone's life. Like this book is all about someone else. Where how can I see myself while reading this book? But today, while listening to the kids' stories, I was going through a moment. I was experiencing a fear. I was experiencing the shivering. then I able to understand, yes, this book is about me, about being me. Slowly I can see that it's me. I'm there, right in the moment, right in the situation. The sensation of a shivering in my body, I'm experiencing that. This book is about me, my being. I can see that now.
I think everybody's happy for you right now.
Thank you so much, TNT.
I have to say one thing, on the back cover, let's see, you read the first 2 pages. And there's a lot of similarities in there because it says, who would I need to be at peace with my past? Or who would I need to be to generate a life of abundance, right? And I, like you, had a little bit of a hard time with that. And then I heard our fellow Team Tuck member, James Klein, Tanya, you probably remember this. He did a talk for Toastmasters, and he said the answer's in the question. And that broke it open for me because I could look at anything. Who would I need to be a more loving person? Okay. It's like the answer's in the question. Well, what does a loving person do? And then you get into an inquiry about it and access your heart's intuition, and it just starts revealing itself. And that's what you just did. So I would say you got about 9 people in here that are like jumping for joy right now. Look at them. Thank you so
Thank
much. Okay. Julie Blake. What would you like to share with us?
Oh, I have stories.
Oh, we want to hear them.
So you can like just hang up a flag if I'm talking too long. I would like to start at the beginning of really how this event got created. I had a conversation with Steve after I met him. I don't know when it was, probably 2008 maybe. And I said, Steve, what's your magic sauce? And he said to me, Julie, there is no boundary to the length I will go to serve somebody. It was just that clear. And so how I met Steve Hardison is not by having a personal internal commitment or anything else. It was just who I am. I had volunteered to be of service, to be the entertainment chair person for this Rays of Hope cancer walk when I was in Massachusetts. So they had like 6,000 walkers, and at the water stops, some of them would have entertainment, and it was my job to get the entertainment there. And because I was really into voice, my vocal coach wrote a song for the Rays of Hope cancer walk called Shine. Okay, so I was just being me, and I was just being of service, and this song came out of it. Okay, so I had no agenda. I didn't have a vision board. I had no intention. So that's where the song came from. So when I was introduced to Katie's work in Byron Katie, thework.com, I was introduced to her work in 2006. And I was in Nashville, and I was blown wide open at just a 2-hour workshop in Nashville. It wasn't with her, it was with Martha Creek came to Louisville to teach it. And when I got that, like everything made sense to me. It was like all the stuff I'd studied for 20 years made sense. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what? No wonder we can't use the law of attraction. We're all bipolar as long as we have these unquestioned thoughts. And here is how you get to the root of your insanity and actually change a thought. So I spent months filling notebooks, undoing one stressful thought at a time. I was committed. And then it was Christmas time. I was in Nashville and I'm like, I have to meet this Katie lady. So my dad flew from Utah to Nashville to pick up my son, who was 6 or 7 years old. He took Josh to Utah. I flew to LA to meet this Katie lady for the New Year's cleanse. And I got to talk to Katie from the group. Okay. So Katie's talking and there's these words, and then she's not joking when she says she'll penetrate as deeply as you'll allow. There was this other conversation going on, and I was like, it was like, you know, like, oh my gosh, I was so immature. I've got to apologize for this. Like, I could just see where I was showing up all these ways. I was like, so these two things are like, you know. And then I had to go catch my flight to Utah. And I went up to Katie's staff and I said, will you give Katie the CD? And they said no. And some Steve guy had spoke to the group. You know, he took the stage and he was sitting right across from me. So I go over to this Steve guy who doesn't know me. And I'm like, hi, Steve, I'm Julie Blake. Will you give Katie the CD? And he says, yes. He's sitting right by Amy. He says, yes. And I'm like, okay. And I leave. Because there's parallels in the song to the work. That's why I wanted her to have it. Mm-hmm. Then I think it's over, and then I come out, and then Steve comes out, and he's like hunting me down. He goes, you know what? That place of passion you spoke from, and you know, my wife's maiden name is Blake. I brought a book of my clients, and now I know who to give it to. Would you like the book? And I'm all, sure. So I go to this strange man's hotel room, and he grabs me, and he starts shaking me.
Wow.
There's a theme. And he goes, Julie, are you listening? And I couldn't hear him. It was like I was asleep and I was trying to come back into the world, right? Like I could not hear him. He's like, Julie, you of 99.99999% of the people on the planet are going to get it. You've got to go to Katie's school. And all I could hear is, I've never left Josh for 10 days. I was a single mom. And I'm like, and I don't have $5,000 sitting around. That's all I could hear was those voices. And I don't know how long this went on. Because he's like, Julie, you got to go to Katie's school. I went inside. I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to go to Katie's school no matter what. It was like, zoop, I was back in the room. Okay, so like Katie, you know, then this crazy man. Okay, then he gives me this book by some Steve Chandler guy I'd never heard of. And the book was, Two Guys Read the Obituaries.
Two guys read the obituary.
From his Two Guys series he wrote with his friend Fred. Commentary, because two guys are reading the obituaries and they make comments.
I can see him doing it.
Okay, yeah. And then there's these 2 photocopied articles about him before he even had a website and his business card. And I get on the plane and I go, I don't know what just happened to me, but my life will never be the same. That's all I knew. And I couldn't even have a thought. I was just sitting there. I was just dumbfounded. I was like, and then towards the end of the flight, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait. Who is this man? How did he do that? And can I do that too to other people? And then I read the article. It's like USA Today, and he coaches Olympic athletes and billionaires and talk show hosts. And I'm like, I'd never heard of coaching outside of sports, right? So I was like, whoa. So then I ended up going to Katie's school in April 2007. Okay. So that's how it works from that song, Shine, right? Mm-hmm. I meet Steve and I get thrown into this world of extraordinary world-class coaches. Okay. And how did the TBOLITNFL event come? It didn't come from having an intention and this. It came because I was just being a service. Because if Steve didn't have his voice, he can't talk and coach people, right? So then that's how the event got created. Okay. So I feel like it's really important to like really get that there really truly is no boundary to the length Steve will go to be of service. And I think that is, to me, the most miraculous state of being. Because everything amazing in my life has come from just being of service with no agenda. Um, uh, I think I'm going to give some edits on the Chris Doris story if I can. Some of them are not politically correct. So this is how I heard it.
You were there.
Chris Doris said, well, Steve called me up and he said, do you want a miracle? Chris is like, yeah, I want a miracle. Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna rip your shirt off.
I want a miracle. And so when Chris told me the story about his girlfriend, when he called her up all excited, the exact quote she said to Chris was, that's retarded. I can see why I didn't put it in the book. But can you even imagine somebody that's like not in the Steve Hardison world, and she didn't live in the same place as him, and so she's thinking, you're spending your money to go here and not visit me? Like, it had to be insane. Anyway, so that was really funny. But what, on the other side of things, okay, I have done events for many, many years, and I had spent many years. I was, my first business I started when I was 21. I did one year I did 360 weddings, flowers, as a floral designer. My mom would do like 1,200 wedding cakes. So I was raised with the personal internal commitment of how you do events is stressed out. I'm the only one that can do it right. I have to do everything, right? All this chaos. So I had spent all these years undoing these programs and everything in me. And then I'm thinking, okay, I can handle this. Well, no, it was beyond. So we had 21 days to put this event together. We changed venues 5 times because it kept growing. Yeah. And so I was at capacity. And then on top of organizing everything, and if I'm going to do an event, it is down to wicked cool lanyards for the volunteers. And, it was like every detail was like happening, and it was all over. And then on top of it, he's like, oh, sponsors are going to pay for the whole thing. Well, my dysfunction with money and my fear on top of all of this everything on top of this was like, okay, I was beyond, right? And so I get this call. Steve calls me up and he goes, Julie, we have dead bodies.
Who did that?
Yeah. He's like, I had mishandled his family because I was assuming that his family was viewing Steve from the context that we all were viewing Steve, and that was not the case. Plus, I didn't really understand what Steve had envisioned, because he were like big business owners and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, at this point, like, this is not the first dead bodies call. Like, I am just like being stretched. I probably went through 3 to 5 years of coaching with Steve pulling this thing off, and Steve's like, Julie, don't worry about it. My family's fine. They may be upset about a few things. And, I just told him what you were going through. He goes, I cleaned it up for you. If there's anything to clean up, we'll do it after the event. I said, Steve, you know what? Nothing can even sting anymore. You just tell me what I need to change. I mean, there was no resistance because it was just like one thing after the other. And I mean, it really hit because and I didn't know he was telling these people, just call this Julie Blake and tell her whatever she wants. I'm just in my money fear, projecting it on everybody that's calling. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just a big, huge, like, it was crazy. And I think probably, in fact, when he was like saying that, and then I'm like totally screwing up these calls with these people calling me because I have no idea who these powerhouse people are. They just call me. I don't know who they are. And he's like yelling at me, Julie, let them be blessed. And like, that's when I got the receiving thing. That was a massive breakthrough for me. That, like, I still say that to this day. Let them be blessed. Yeah, because it was kind of like Fort Knox to get through, like with the receiving and with the whole thing. So,
So you have a relationship with Steve prior to the TBOLITNFL.
oh yeah, yeah, I met Steve
Yeah.
in 2006. Yeah.
Well, tell us what, I mean, just to be clear, what was it a phone, like who said, Julie, we need your help? Who was the person that said that?
To win.
To manage the whole 600 people event?
I just signed up for it. I've done events for years. Like
You
I'm a
just took on.
Oh yeah, I'm a professional event plan. Yeah, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff I've done in planning events and things like that. So
And
yeah.
you know what I sense too, as I'm listening to you, is that, you know, you're putting yourself in these positions because I think you're like energetically vibrating at the same frequency that Steve's vibrating at, you know, and it's just drawing you two together,
Mhm.
and it's drawing it's probably, you tell me, but am I right that everything in your life is like energetic and you just get it drawn to you?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it just is the alchemy. It just is like I've got story after story of all of that is really literally how my life works. Um and it's really really amplified now, but Steve and I have great alchemy. I mean, it's to the point where I'm helping plan a Bali retreat and I hadn't even started doing research. They gave me the task to reach out to my network on retreat centers. I did nothing. And then my past client from a while, that like 2 sessions, but we have great connections. Like, hey, I was just thinking, who would I want to hang out with? I'm in Bali right now. Like, like literally. Oh, sure, I'll send you.
It's
It
like
was just, yeah.
charmed, you're like, it's like a charmed life energetically.
Well, it's a fine line between charmed and cursed. It really is just a matter in each moment of how much I actually do take control of my state of being. Because the other side of it is if I'm pulling a temper tantrum, okay, my temper tantrums, I still have them, is generally with technology. And I have literally fried computers being pulling a temper tantrum energetically. And so I have to be I have to be extra vigilant to but yeah, so yeah.
And I would say charmed by experience, not
Charmed
charmed.
by experience, but I read the millennial chapter in the book yesterday, and if you will, I just for some reason show up, and when you show up for Steve, then he will just be of great service. I worked very, very closely with Steve. I did a lot of stuff for Steve Chandler. Worked with Stephen McGee. I call it my Steve conspiracy, is what I call it. And they were just like a massive catalyst. It's like pulled my soul out of the lost and found and reminded me I was here to shine. But I'll tell you, like, playing in those circles and it takes just incredible amount of courage over and over and over again to be coached and be so willing to be coached. It's like, Julie, you're here and everybody's here, and you're trying to take everybody from here to here and one, and you're doing damage. Like, just straight up. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you just kind of like surrender. And but then it also is too, I think the greatest compliment Steve gave to me with the whole event was he said, Julie, you're not normal.
It's like Sachin's Lamron.
Yeah. And these past couple of weeks, it's been a hell of a ride. After TBOLITNFL, both my parents died within 4 months. My son I raised on my own turned 12 and needed his dad. I have this 3-bedroom house in North Scottsdale. Like, everything crashed. Like, with that. And then I found different spiritual mentors, and it took me 20 years to get my health back. I had really severe health challenges. And I looked at my life, and you know, in the last 2 weeks, I have been able to be the Steve Hardison and the Steve Chandler because they had so much grace with me. I can't even tell you how generous they were with me. Because I would be like, you know, they would coach me on things over and over, but I would just serve my butt off all the time. Like I would just be like, I would get a project, I would help, I would do everything. But finally now I'm in a position, and I had, I think, like 5 SOS calls. Finally, when I declared to the universe that, you know, I got my health back, I can dance, I can travel, you know, I've got this whole mastery in other realms than coaching, in spiritual law and my spiritual gifts and everything. And I'm at a different level. And, you know, I've had these master coaches and healers and everybody reaching out saying, hey, you know what? I really need help. And I'm like, whoa, they're coming to me now. Like, whoa, I'm able to give back finally. You know, to what Steve Hardison and Steve Chandler and Stephen McGee all gave to me. So it's kind of come full circle. And, you know, it's just, this has been just like a divine timing of call to come back in, because just so much has been happening. And so I'm really grateful that Tanya asked me. And yeah, so.
You know, I just sense here that the way they meant so much to you, the three Steves,
Mm-hmm.
we had any one of them here right now, I bet you they would say the exact same thing, that you meant so much to them
Hmm.
in a lot of ways, just maybe in love and service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Appreciate you. And it's so good to see you.
Thank you.
Tanya.
Thank you for having me here.
Extraordinary, Julie. Thank you so much for sharing in such greater depth. There's some things in there that really stood out to me, and I could resonate with a lot of it, about being stressed out, feeling alone, and then recognizing and all of a sudden having spiritual leaders and the influence of Steve Hardison or Steve Chandler in our lives. And what I'm experiencing even on this call is the ripple effect, of Steve creating what the idea of commitment is and how we create ourselves. And now we are in the realm of that understanding. And I loved Vanessa's share, because Vanessa, I would like to know at what time you had that conversation, because I had the exact conversation with a young lady who said she was not an artist, but one day she will be. And she was literally a makeup artist. And so I said, wait 1 second. What do you do? And she said, and she realized I'm a makeup artist. And I was like, so what are you? And she's like, oh, I am an artist. And so we just literally had that same conversation. And so I just love what I'm experiencing is the ripple, that we are learning this. We cannot keep it in ourselves alone, and how we, just two of us, and how it's across the world, are recognizing how language shifts our reality, and the presence of the commitment to even create awareness around our language is just so powerful. And I'm experiencing, you know, in the book, in the beginning, when Julie started to read, she read a part, and it was just a very small sentence, and it said, Steve heard a hunger. And Julie, like, with your energy, I can understand and see and feel the hunger in you. And I recognize for myself of where I haven't been hungry, or when I haven't been. And what's so funny is that I literally just also had that conversation with somebody today. If you're hungry, you're going to do whatever you have to do to get some food. Like you'll go miles, you will go leaps and bounds, and so if we really have a hunger for the creating our futures, or creating ourselves, or being willing to sit with, be with those stressed out thoughts or those alone feelings, and just really consciously create a different reality, but recognizing that we don't have to do it alone. I think the wake up for me, well, not think, I know, because in the ultimate experience in Arizona 2 years ago, that is what woke me up. Because Steve said, wake up, everyone. The reason why I'm successful is because I try not to do it alone. And that was so powerful for me, because I've kind of always done things alone and just thought that was the way. That was the way my mama did it. She like would work her tail off, and she would work through the night. And so those are the behaviors that I learned. As a matter of fact, I worked through the night the other night. So I am recognizing the lack of sleep and the difference in my own reactions in my conversations, or just my lack of I'm not going to say lack, I'm going to say I had less patience, and I immediately created awareness around it, and I apologized, and I was just like, please excuse me, I need sleep. And so I'm aware of my old behaviors, and where sometimes they still come through because I have maybe overcommitted or just have a big commitment and I'm not raising my hand fully for help. So that was really, really present for me tonight. And I love the part, I know it's been mentioned, but until one is committed, this is Miss Teresa Holdaway's favorite. Until one is committed, there is a hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. The moment definitely commits, the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves to a whole stream of events, issues, from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt could have come his way. And I just think of Chris Doris and his part where he was like, he was the yes man. His girlfriend was like, Julie said, you're retarded. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, have you lost your mind? Like, I know that's definitely something that
What
my
page
level
was that? What page was that you just read?
that page is on 350. Teresa's favorite page ever. If you're on our Team Tech meetings, you
350.
will hear her say, go to page 350. All
Okay,
the
so
time.
near the top, right?
Yes, it is. It's the second paragraph.
Highlighted.
And I love this part. Steve finished. I give you the same challenge I gave Deuce. Go find a quiet place. Ask yourself, what is it I want? What is it I could do to commit? And look inside. Be quiet long enough to see something. That is key. Long enough. As media stimulated or as entertainment stimulated as we are these days, to stay quiet long enough to position ourselves in a space where we are able to listen and truly ask ourselves and be truthful with ourselves. What do I want? This chapter impacts me every single time, and it has most definitely impacted me tonight in many, many ways. I underlined a lot, and I'm eternally grateful for Julie showing up and sharing and just being you, Julie. So thank you.
Well, thank you for asking her.
I felt it.
Yeah.
Actually, and so actually I want to go back on that real quick, because it was a previous chapter, and we were writing, and all of a sudden Julie Blake's name came to me, and I wrote it in the notes. And so I recognized that I was having a habit of creating notes from the book readings, and I wasn't going back and looking at my notes. And so it was something that I wanted to change. And so I said, just start here like your document. Just start here and go back and just, that was powerful. There were so many golden nuggets there. Are you even reviewing it? Are you even being with it? Are you reading it again? So it could be just as powerful. Maybe there's even something else for you there. And so I reread it, and I had really big on the side, contact Julie Blake. Like it was so prevalent, and it was a special piece of paper that night that I took my notes on. It was of an ocean and the sun setting, and it was, I've never written my notes on that page. And that was the note that I reviewed. And so when I reread it, I said, Tanya, you had a thought and you did not take it into action. It's still sitting here on the paper. What are you going to do about it? And immediately that was the moment that I reached out to Julie. So thank you, Julie.
And you should acknowledge that you actually did do it.
I
You know,
did, but there was a little
You
bit
were
of gap.
quiet long enough, but just a little longer than maybe you needed to be. But you know, that both that paragraph there, the two paragraphs, they're like a meditation. It's like a contemplation. And there's so much in that. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And then I also love the thing about hunger. You know, I wrote down on my sheet, I work with people's thoughts. Steve, I work with people's thoughts, and I think it begins with hunger, or hunger is a part of it in some way. So thank you.
Yes, I keep hearing in my mind, you gotta be hungry. You gotta be hungry for it. Like, like when you're hungry, nothing's gonna get in your way. You just go. So that's what I keep hearing.
All righty, I'm gonna move over to Lisa. Lisa, we've been waiting to hear from you. Would you like to share?
Yeah, I'll share just a little bit. So this is the first time that I've heard this chapter. And to be honest, I have not seen the video. I did not really realize there was a video. Usually I read the chapter prior to these get-togethers, but wasn't able to do that today. I've read probably 3/4 of the book now, and I'm going to attend this weekend. I'm actually in Arizona right now. But I started this journey just a few months ago. And I'm just on this wonderful wild ride, great ride. But so out of this chapter, I think for me, what I got was I have a lot of stuff going on in my life, a lot of changes. I just turned 60. I have decisions to make, and I find I do not like to commit. So this was perfect for me. I think the key is going within quietly, listening to my, inner self and commitments, decide what, my commitments are and stick to them. And that's when the miracles happen, So I liked when it said, commitment rocks the world. It's everything. And yeah, I loved your stories, Julie. Thank you for the whole background. I'm very excited to watch the video, probably 5 times. So yeah, and I'm just so many wonderful things, just new ideas and thoughts, and just am very excited and very thankful for this group. Thank you.
Yeah, and we appreciate you being here and I'll be in, most of us are going to be in Arizona. So we all look forward to meeting you there. And this wild ride, I've had this experience. Tanya, Elizabeth, wild ride, because it's like it happens fast.
I feel like going, yeah, it's
Yeah.
so wild sometimes.
It happens fast and it's fun. And the other thing I want to point out, and then we'll go over to Liz, is it's almost like this chapter is a meditation or on commitment. Because you talked about, Julie talked about Byron Katie and the work, that the whole process of the work is an inquiry and a meditative, contemplative kind of a state of being. And you talked about going through changes and getting quiet, and then that's in the book in a few places. And then what you just read, Tanya, it's like it's everywhere right now. And that's who knows what's going to show up for you in Arizona, but right now that's front and center for me. So thank you again. Appreciate you. Elizabeth, you gotta unmute you, or do I have to do it? All right. Oops.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay. I love this chapter. It's one of my favorites. I say that about all of them, but I love the video, and I think I ended up watching it for the first time before I'd ever finished reading the book, because when I'd heard that there was a video, I was like, oh my God, I gotta watch this. And it was so good. Just like the experience of it. But what this has been said over and over and over again is like the commitment. And it's that realization of, if you're going to commit to something, like that's where everything happens. It's that hunger and that actual commitment that drives you to be. And without the commitment, there's no being, so it's kind of like that's kind of what I got out of the reading tonight. And the other thing is like going inward and that quiet and that still. If you don't have that, I know for me, if I don't have that, I don't have that clarity that I need. I know that I can't connect with myself in a way to be able to even think about, who am I being? What am I creating? What do I even want to create in my life? So it's one of those things. I feel like if I don't have the opportunity to do that, my whole life's a mess. So for me, going to India was that first opportunity to really like get still and calm and really connect with who I am as a person and being. So now, on the eve of going to Arizona, I fly out in what 7 hours. It's going to be another experience where I have the opportunity to just go inward and really connect with myself amidst everything that's going on in my life, which there's a lot of stuff. But to connect with me, to make those, I guess, realizations as to where I'm at, where I want to go, what am I creating, and just really get in tune with myself and just have that opportunity to connect. It's so important. And I feel like I have to escape my life in order to have this opportunity. So I'm trying to create more of that. Actually, I am creating more of that in my life, because I'm a powerful creator, and that's who I'm going to be. Yeah. So creating that in my life so I can live more authentic. Sorry, my battery's getting low. But just being more authentic with who I am, and knowing that I want to coach people powerfully. I want to serve people powerfully. I want to create some really, really big stuff. And there was one day when we did our breakout rooms way back when, I had this realization that I can't do the things that I want to do on my own. Like, I have to up level. I have to find these other people that can help me get where I need to go, or I'm never going to accomplish the things that I want. So it's like, for me, I was like, well, who the hell am I being? I'm not being the person that I need to be to make these things happen. So yeah, there's just like so much transformation that comes from that connection and that self. So that self exploration. So you learn a lot about yourself in this space.
Yeah. Well,
It's not always the most beautiful things that you learn about yourself.
7 other people here that will support you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I
Help.
wrote in the chat, without commitment, there is no being. You
Yeah.
know, and that's a profound statement. I guess we could say without commitment, you're just the default being, and with commitment, you're a created being.
Yeah.
You know, so thank you for sharing that thought. And I'll say this, and then we'll finish up. But you've been working really hard on yourself. I'm not supposed to acknowledge, but you've been working really hard on yourself, and you're a different person today.
Mm. Thank you. I
Yeah.
really am. I really am. I've grown a lot. Yeah. Thank you.
Teresa, you're the only one that hasn't chatted. Do you want to chat? You don't have to, but you're here, and we always love hearing from you.
Sure, I always have stuff to say. So first of all, you know, I remember 2006 and I remember 2007. And because it's a part of what I remember, then this is about me, but I'm going to include Julie in it. And so, you know, 2006 is when Steve started working with Katie. 2007 with the function that you helped him create. And you were very key to that. I remember the conversations during that time. Had that not come off the way it had done, and the others, you know, and he had Katie come to Salt Lake, all of those set the framework. Steve wasn't a very public figure before that. Do you know that? So you were in the birthplace of that. So that's a real key thing for you to remember, that he probably wouldn't be doing some of the public speaking that he has done in Arizona and other places had those events not taken place. So that's really cool. And the other thing that I love to hear, because it's when somebody is in it, is Julie, you said, I plan big events. I have planned some amazing events. I love that you live in that, and that came right out of your words when you said it. And with what Tanya said, and I'll just add a little bit more to that. In my book, on page 350, I have a sticky note, and on this sticky note it says, "This is being 100%." So if somebody would ever ask me, what does being mean? What do you mean when you talk about being? I say, go to page 350, read the quote, and that gives you a straight outline of how you would be looking if you're living in a state of being, because that's exactly what it looks like. That's my favorite page in this whole book. But with this particular reading, what stood out to me this time that I thought was really cool, that I don't think I had recognized it before, was when they're in the Kingfish house. And this is on the page 348, and it says, Steve shared the story with his signature passion. People were inspired, but not just because one football player was electrified by his possibility. Deuce was every man. And that's a very small statement, but that's what this book experience is. This book is every man. So those were the things that came to my mind as I was, sorry it's late, but Wednesdays are Crystal Hot Springs, got to do the swim, got to keep the body moving. That's it for me. Thank you, Tom. You're muted, Tom.
Oh, I am muted. Man, I had such profound stuff I just said there. Now I
You're
forgot.
gonna have to repeat yourself then.
Oh, I was just thanking you for being here and sharing what you did on that paragraph and what it means to you. So,
Well,
what
Teresa's version of that paragraph is this: choice will always supersede structure. Once choice is present, it opens the headwaters for creation. It opens the headwaters for commitment, and from commitment comes creation. And what Julie explained when she was talking in the order of events, how they happened, That is not, it's learning who's in your game, and it's letting the players play in the game. Just like one of my favorite stories is, I don't remember the woman's name, but she was in Steve's office and she was very clear when he asked her what does she want to get from the coaching, from the visit. And she said to improve her leadership skills. Well, he will. Steve will not only go above and beyond, but he will give away something of great value. And if you recall in that story, he got right on to Werner Erhard. He had been given the opportunity to do an updated session. So he knew that whether he would use it or not, who knows, but in direct possibility with her need, he gave her that came from something like a phone call. So it actually is coming in service. And, you know, it's really funny because on our last chapter on that Jordan read on the millennials, my son picked it went in his closing remarks. He said he shared the very sentence that stood out to me in that chapter. And that was, in all the time I spent with Steve, he never told me what I should do. I chose what I wanted to do, and he showed me how to reach it. And that's the same with the young lady going into his office. He just made the steps a little easier. He did the same thing for me when I learned of Katie and wanted to take part in that. And Steve said, Teresa, if you get yourself there, I'll give you one of the tickets that I have for the School for the Work. And how could I not get myself there? So I got myself there, and I have not gone to sleep. I've been awake since 2006, and I hope I never go to sleep again. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Teresa,
Tanya, Carrie had
I don't think it's possible to put the toothpaste back in the container.
Well, mine's been smeared all over the mirror. So, yeah.
Tanya, we're missing Carrie, so can you handle
I
my?
got it. Yep. I had sent you a message. Absolutely. We are a team and we are here together to support each other. So absolutely. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for being here. Truly, everyone's participation and your reading, your sharing, your presence has been profound and has truly impacted me. And so I want to thank everyone who read. Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, MB. Thank you so much for both reading the back of the book and before you begin. And thank you, Lisa. Or first, thank you, Julie, for reading the chapter. Thank you so much. And thank you, Elizabeth, for reading the vignette. And as well, Lisa, thank you for reading the vignette as well. Our next book reading, believe it or not, is going to be the day after the Ultimate Experience in Arizona. It will be this Sunday on the 28th, and it is another powerful chapter. It is the chapter on love, chapter 35. We will have two amazing guests, Caroline Hughes and Dinah Lawrence, and as well as everyone who will be present on the call, on the Zoom, and in the live. And in this moment, I'm really just feeling a huge calling to acknowledge Judy Thurston, Eric Thurston, and their team, the entire team that are traveling to be speakers and possibly even speakers for the first time, but they felt this calling in their heart that that's what they're supposed to be doing. And since the Book of Being has been created and their involvement in the Book of Being, they are stepping into these calls, just like all of us are learning to listen. And so this will be an extraordinary experience for all that will be attending and for all that won't be attending as well. Because truly, the ultimate experience is where you are at. It is what you are experiencing and who you are being in that experience. And so I want to encourage anyone who is traveling, whether you're traveling to the ultimate experience or whether you're traveling somewhere else, that can still also be your ultimate experience through your being, through your intentions, and through your commitment. And, you know, one thing that really stood out to me too, that I want to mention in the chapter before I close it up with the rest of the announcement, is a personal internal commitment is not a magic wand. Shoo, like it all happens, it all changes. It is a powerful commitment that brings dreams into reality by consistent daily actions. Miracles happen and dreams are actualized. And that's what we are going to be able to witness through ourselves, through our being, through our intentions, through our commitments, and showing up. Wow, Julie, you showed up tonight so big. Thank you for just being you. Thank you for your giggles. Thank you for being tickled pink, because I could just feel the energy, how it's still flowing, tickling you. And so I just love that. I just really do.
Thank you.
How's that
Yeah.
money fear now, Julie?
What?
How's that money fear now?
Oh. It's amusing. It's amusing.
Beautiful. Well, I love amusement. So it's a work in progress and a journey, and the amusement is part of the journey. Beautiful. So our other upcoming announcements, and I know some people were asking because now that they've heard about the Arizona experience, oh my goodness, I want to, is there another experience coming up? And so, yes, there absolutely is. There is another experience on May 25th and May 26th in Birmingham, and it is called 2B24, the Birmingham Experience. And if you would like more information, we can pop a link in the chat for you as well. The Arizona event is sold out, so I'm sorry if you haven't gotten your tickets. You'll have to go ahead and purchase your tickets to Birmingham. However, log on to the Facebook group, because I am sure you're going to be seeing some movement and some excitement that people in the group will be sharing. So, so make sure you stay tuned within the Facebook group. I know that many of us will be happy to share our journey about the experience. And if you don't know already, the Ultimate Coach has a huge amount of resources for you, including the YouTube channel, the podcast, our Instagram channel, our LinkedIn group, our Being Digest, and as well as our Friday Live conversations. So if you'd like information on any of those, we'd be happy to share it with you. And just think, none of this was created 2 years ago. None of this, not even the Facebook group was only like a month or two old. So 2 years ago, and all this has been created through co-creation. So not alone, through commitment and through loving service. And so I just ask all of us as we close the call, and if something was present for you and insightful for you, give yourself space, be gentle with yourself, and create that sacred space for yourself and be quiet in a space where you can be quiet so you can listen to what you want. And then commitment. So, and enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey, enjoy the quiet space. When it seems a little uncomfortable, it's okay. Take a deep breath. And that's when growth happens, is the uncomfortableness. So maybe we could just last a little longer there. So again, you do you do what works for you. However, there was some golden nuggets in here tonight that we can all take away and use every day. So I know I will, and I encourage you to as well. So thank you so much for everybody for joining us, whether you're joining us here in the Zoom, or whether you're on live, or whether you're catching the replay. And if you're going to Arizona, I cannot wait to give you a giant hug. So Lisa, I'll see you there. Liz, I'll see you there. Miss Vanessa, I'll see you there. Mr. Tom, I'll see you there. And I don't know, I might see someone else there. I just
Guess
don't know.
what? Next Wednesday, I might know everybody in the room.
Yeah, how cool is that?
Right now, it's old Julie's the only one I met in person. Next Wednesday, it might be everybody.
Yes, it's fascinating. I was just thinking about it. 2 years ago, I walked into that room and I knew less than 5 people. Walking in that room this year will be a different experience for sure.
Yeah,
And so I just want you guys to know I love you. I cannot wait to meet you in person, give you a physical hug, touch our hearts, heart to heart, and just feel each other's energy and the presence of love. I just cannot wait. So if you are on your way to Arizona, please safe travels, enjoy your journey. And as a possibility, you can create the ultimate experience exactly where you're at, whether you're in the airport, on the plane, in the cab, anywhere where you're at. Enjoy. So thank you. And if you would like to stay, we will be going into the after party and sharing with the cameras off. So at this time, everyone can turn their unmute themselves and say hello, goodbye, see you later, or I'm coming to the after party, so hold on tight. So if you'd like to say what you'd like to say, and then we'll move on to the next part. So
Bye, everybody.
thank you.
See everyone
Thank
on
you.
Friday, or most of you.
Bye.
Guys, yes, so
Bye.
excited to see you and hug you all.